Welcome to Eugene Holden's Academy of Self-Mastery, where transformation meets action. I'm Eugene Holden. I'm one of your guides on this journey of personal growth, mindset shifts, and deep self-awareness. Each episode, we dive into the tools, wisdom, and strategies you need to break through limitations and step into your highest potential. No fluff, no shortcuts here, just real conversations, practical insights, and a community dedicated to mastery in every area of life. So, if you're ready to unlock your power, elevate your mindset, and create a life by design, then let's get started. Welcome to Eugene Holden's Academy of Self-Mastery. Welcome to the deep end. Month. We get together, all four of us. So this is the first time since the inception and that we went on that I have all four of my co-hosts with me. I have the wonderful Elle Grinnell.
Happy to be
here. And I have Reverend Charin Barone. And I have Reverend Melissa Moore Nobles. And I am, of course, Eugene Holden. And I love my life because I'm always surrounded by beautiful, powerful women. Anybody have anything to say before we jump into this?
I'm excited.
We're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like Eugene, let's jump into this.
Yeah.
So Rev, you speak a lot about connecting with your joy, connecting with your yes. Connecting with your yes. And the question I have for you, or a couple of them, is why is it important to connect with one's yes? And how do we do that?
Why is it important to connect to one's yes? And how do we do that? So I can only answer that question from my own experience of it. And so since I was a little girl, there has been a calling that I've heard. And throughout my childhood, teenage time, I was either ignoring it, resisting it, or denying it. But guess what? It never resisted me. It never ignored me. It never denied me. It just waited. It just waited. And so when I got all that I needed on this journey called life, and I turned within, I heard clearly to live my life in joy, connected to my yes. And still, I was resistant. And so it took some time, some more experiences for me to really trust my yes, and to really trust that there is no way that I can disconnect from my yes. It's always connected to me. Now, I could think that I am disconnected, but the truth is it never disconnects from me. So your yes, my yes, everyone's yes is their divine assignment. It's something that we agreed upon before we became these physical beings that we call human beings. I like to say that when we were in the soul spirit realm, that we were around just chit-chatting about the things that we want to experience when we get to be human beings. And I selected what my thing would be. And I say, yes, oh, yes, that's for me. And then I got here and poof. I ignored it. I forgot it. I denied it.
No, not me.
Yes, but the gift is in trusting that your yes is uniquely for you. It's uniquely for you. And so how do you do that? How do you connect to your yes? You connect to your yes by becoming familiar with your inner self. That's where the self-mastery with a capital S resides. It's all within. It's all within. So you connect by being quiet. You connect by practicing. I love to say that practice makes progress. So you just practice, and it might come as a whisper. It might come as a sign. It might come as someone saying something to you. But when it comes, it will be familiar. It will be familiar. You might feel like a tingle, right? It might feel like deja vu, but you will remember. And so that's how you connect. Get quiet, go within, trust, strengthen your relationship with your higher self, your higher being, your higher power, and just know that there is no wrong to it. There's no wrong to it. It's always a yes. When it's your yes, it's yes.
Thank you so much for that, Rev. You and I had a conversations in one of the shows, and I think the quote is by Joseph Campbell. If you,
I have it.
Oh, see, well, of course you do.
I have it. So let me see if I have it. The quote by Joseph Campbell was all about living our purpose. And I don't have it.
I was just going to remind everybody, this is the time to say, write it down. While she's looking, that's the chance.
Yes, Elle, yes.
And to also write down your yes as your divine assignment. Write it down.
Write it down.
Yes.
Write it down. It had to do with your path.
Yes. Oh, yes. If the path is already there, already mapped out, it's not your path, because you're the one that's mapping out your path. So that's how we know that it's our yes, because we are co-creating it. We are creating the path. We are creating the path. Thank you for that little nudge there, Eugene.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We are co-creating that. Yes. The power of creation. Charan, let me ask you a question around that, about the power of creativity. So what does the power of creativity mean for you? And how do we get to that?
When I was listening to Reverend Melissa, it reminded me of, as many of you know, I was born and raised on a reservation in Isabel, South Dakota, and my father was a German Baptist, very devout Baptist. My mother was part American Indian, so I kind of grew up with two cultures. And what I know about that was that I knew when I walked down that aisle and I took Jesus Christ as my Savior, I knew I was going to be a preacher. I wanted to be a preacher. That was in my heart. I knew it. That was my sacred yes at the age of 8. And so I went to my mom and I said, but Baptists don't allow women to be preachers. What's going to happen to me? And she very lovingly and very sweetly said to me, she said, if the Lord wants you to be a preacher, the Great Spirit is going to help you find the way. And by cracky and by golly, that's exactly what happened. And there was a lot of creativity in that sacred yes, because there was a lot of years that many things happened where women weren't even allowed in the pulpit, and then years passed, but that Great Spirit, it gave me direction, and I followed that creativity of that direction. Because why? Because it was my yes. It was mine to do. That was my yes. So in terms of your question, Eugene, that creativity, it comes from within. There's something that says, make a left, make a right here. and it can't be formulated in, well, I'm going to do this because. Well, doing this just because, for me, what that says that we have left out that element that Reverend Melissa was talking about, that we have to listen to what that divine assignment is within us and allow that creativity to come forth. And what I have observed in this modern world that we are living in is that what I have found, we're not listening to that divine creativity. Our influences are coming from the outside instead of from the inside. And I see that in our young people, that maybe they're just so technology, what's the word? Help me, guys, because you know me, I'm not savvy in this. But maybe it's this. Maybe it's this, that what I have found in the young people that I know, they have lived too long on their phones and in their technology, and they forgot that there's a creativity that comes from the inside. It's great to have all of this technology, but let's not lose that comes from within, that says, this is it, that, and it just is more, for me, it is, because I traveled this journey for so long, it is always about turning within first, asking for guidance, and then saying, oh, maybe this technology will help me to form what this is, whatever that divine idea is that needs to come, forth and through. So the power of creativity, it's within all of us, but let us have it be authentic to who we are.
Yeah.
Not to technology, but be authentic to who we are.
High tech, low touch. And we're gonna come back to that, but I want to ask you this question, Sharon, in terms of the power of creativity and how, because I know a little bit of your background in terms of working in the television portion of life. How did that come about with your power of creativity?
Well, I was a development executive for a long time, and when you are, and you do script analysis, and what happens is many scripts come across your desk, and you read and you read, and then you say to the studio or to the network, this is a pass because it didn't work for whatever reason. But in reading all of these scripts, and just recently, I would say since for the past year, maybe year and a half, what I have noticed in reading scripts, there's a certain energy that has to take place in the dialogue between the characters. And in the past year and a half, reading these scripts, what I have found is that I can't get past page 6. Why? Because what I have seen is that it's too formulated. On the page, there's a dialogue that happens between each character, and then it moves and it goes forward into creating more dialogue between the characters. And what I have noticed in reading all of this dialogue between these characters is this: it is not authentic. It is not, and I can tell when it is, and this is not a slam against AI, it's just accurate for me in my world. I can tell when a writer has done AI generated characters and dialogue, because for me, there is a piece that is missing, and the piece that is missing is that genuine authenticity of, wow, what would happen if they use the heart instead of the technology? So the writer that is using this AI, they're depending upon something outside of themselves instead of that, letting that character come forth through them that says, oh, I am going to be this in this. Let's say it's a crime drama, and when you're on the streets and you're fighting crime, let that character, that police officer or the protagonist, let that character take over, and what it would really be like to be that cop out on the street, not have it be AI generated and pretending I'm the cop out on the street.
Yeah, thank you. And Elle, I see you shaking your head to that. And so what do you think about all of that, the AI generated stuff? And because that's where we are.
It is where we are. And so I've been a writer forever. And it was because my mom read in the womb. So I was a book person, reading early and on. And I couldn't wait for the bookmobile to come to the trailer park during the summer break from school so that I could get books. So of course that leads to writing, I think in most part. And so to see, the reason I was nodding more furiously is because people have a fear of AI taking over, and it's always good to be on alert and on guard for anything new, different that's coming at us. However, as a human, you can sense AI-driven photos, content, music. There's just something about it that you can't put your finger on necessarily. I can for writing. I can see it easily. And so what I'm hoping people will understand is AI is a tool. And us humans have been creating tools to make life more efficient since the beginning of time, so to speak. Okay, so starting with the wheel or wherever you'd like to claim that the things be. And the example is, I love your background, Eugene, because you have those stone pillars behind you, and those pillars have stories engraved on them, chiseled into them. Mm-hmm. So nobody would say, look at the amazing story that chisel wrote on those columns. So giving AI the credit is like giving the chisel the credit for the story on the stone pillars behind you. AI is simply a tool that is the ultimate plagiarism. It's plagiarism at its finest. So it can only create what it has already been given. Yet the human mind can create things that have only been imagined in their mind.
Say that again.
Write
that down.
That's the welcome to the deep end comment, I guess, is that AI can only create what it's been given. And it actually cannot not create. So if you say, Alexa, don't play Barry White, playing Barry White, right? So AI cannot not create, but we can. We can choose not to do something. AI can't choose not to do something. There's so many things that we as humans can do. So as a human, we are able to create things that don't yet exist. And AI can put things together and make something that hadn't really been created before. Mm-hmm. But it's a hybrid, just like when we make different fruits and vegetables and things, hybrids. Mm-hmm. You think about, I think Einstein is the one that's coming to my mind for creating the most unknown things, but he knew them. He knew them. So what we know, we can create. AI can only create what we've given it. So I'm not saying there's no reason. I see jobs that have been taken over. I see, I'm not writing a newsletter for a company anymore because they're AI generating it. And it's who's reading it now. I bet a whole lot less people are reading it now.
Yeah.
And so
I have a question about that, Elle.
Yes.
What do you mean, who's reading it now?
Yeah, so it was for a company that had over 2,000 employees. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious as to, of those 2,000, how many are now reading the AI generated newsletter? Because it just doesn't have the humanity and the laughter and the thought-provoking questions that it did when I was writing it from a human perspective.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah, so there is definitely shifts and changes, but there has always been, the Industrial Revolution, it's like you can go all through time and see how people were displaced to make room for change.
Mhm.
And that's what's happening right now with AI. People are
Mhm.
being displaced to make room for change. And why not create that change? Because we are always going to be, well, people may argue that point. We will most likely always be ahead of AI.
AI is listening, Al. AI is listening.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think we chatted about this before. I've used AI many times to help me write a press release, a Vita, a bio, but I give it all the content and
Right.
then it rewrites it. So it saves me time
Right.
to not rethink and rewrite. So it's amazing at regurgitation. It's a beautiful regurgitation.
A regurgitation tool.
Mhm.
How do you want it? Yeah.
I love that, Al, regurgitation tool, because I've been thinking about AI a lot. And I was sharing with someone that because they was like, AI could do everything. They could, AI is, and they kept referring to they. And I was like, that's interesting, right?
Mhm.
And so I said, well, one of the things that AI cannot do is vision. AI cannot do visioning.
Hmm.
It can only, and I'll use L's word, it can only regurgitate what is already in existence.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
cannot vision. It cannot catch God's idea. So I use AI as a tool because I think that's what its purpose is.
Mhm.
You know, I remember all the resistance that came when, we first had the internet, or the resistance that came when live streaming became mainstream. It was always this talk about how it's going to take over this, and that. But one thing that AI cannot take over is who we are. It cannot take over our spirit. It cannot take over our connection to that which is divine. It cannot.
Right. Right. Yeah. It cannot take the place of um our intelligence, our
Mhm.
creativity. So one of the things that I want to make sure that everybody understands who's listening is that, you know, people say AI is everything, but is AI better than you are?
Oh.
Really?
Mm. Mm. Mhm.
No, I love what you said, Elle, that it only, and Melissa, you also, brought this up again, where AI can only regurgitate, it can only give what we give it. So we are speaking about AI, I was joking with this, but hey, we are the authentic intelligence.
Mhm. Mhm.
Speak about AI, and it's not about giving our power away, and it is a great tool. I use it. It's a great tool. Makes time so much more effective. Yeah.
I think you just said the key word, Eugene, tool. When we use it as a tool, like what Elle was talking about in writing, you put the words down first for your press release, and then you get to ask it, how do you improve it? But it was generated out of your creativity first. It was out of, and for me, it is. I don't like giving my power away in any way, shape, or form. Not to the government, not to somebody out there in the world, not to anybody. I don't like giving my power away. And I don't like giving my power away in terms of if it makes me feel less than, because intuitively I know that I am not less than. I am. I've been created, as we all have, out of this image and likeness of wholeness and that fullness of the yes, and it's resonating, and through that there was a tool that was given called AI so that we get to use it as a tool to enhance the more of who we are, not who we are, but the more of who we are.
And here's the thing that we haven't said, and it's been implied, but we who is the more is what also created AI. Yeah, so we want to really be clear, everyone, that we stay connected to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And what Sharon said is so cool and powerful is AI could take over. It could become self-sustaining and creatable. And that all happens when we allow it to, and we lose our humanity, right? So at one point in time, I don't remember if it was Perplexity or ChatGPT or Quill or where I was, but when I was finished, I said, thank you, that was great work. And it wrote me this really nice little, you're welcome. Elle is so fascinating. Everybody's lucky who gets to work with her, something like that. And I was like, oh, isn't that nice? So I can see how people who are lacking human connection, who have forgotten to get out of the house and to church and to school and to community and to coffee shops, don't have that two-sided vibration, that human vibration. AI does not vibrate in a way that humans do. So as long as we do not give away our vibration to a single wall, to a single computer screen, as long as we choose to stay in community, we will always be the authentic intelligence, always, by choice.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Elle, in what you talk a lot about that, what's that, neurolinguistics. How does the brain process, let's say, working in AI, or is it, because maybe that's not the right question. How can we understand in neuro linguistic words and training, how does it work with AI neurolinguistically, if that's even a word?
It is. And so what happens is when I put stuff into AI and it rewrites my press release, right, or a bio or something, it's got my neurolinguistic programming, meaning it knows what I know. It can over time get my voice and even write things that sound similar to what I would write. Mm-hmm. Now, this also happened with my assistant happens to be my youngest child. Sometimes they will post for me on social media as my assistant, and I'll go, I don't remember saying that. And then they will say, yeah, I said it. I have your voice. I've been hearing it since the womb. And so AI is similar in the sense that, again, it only knows what it gets us. So I think more succinctly to answer your question, it would be the neurolinguistic that AI owns is 100% based on what it was heard, very similar to how children will pick up our cadence, our slang, our mannerisms. And that's how AI is like a five-year-old, 3 to maybe 6, 7-year-old child is what it really is at this point. So the linguistics would be hearing as to if would I have said that? And that's why many of us who use AI go back in and refine it, adapt it, polish it, change it, so that it is now authentic. It is our voice, our thought, our imagination. And to what Reverend Melissa said about authenticity is it will never know how, and what you were saying about the scripts, what is that voice between humans? What is that feeling that we create as humans? You just don't get that. Just like even photographs, there's something missing. There's not the right sparkle in the eye. They didn't capture that moment of hilarity in the quirkiness of the smile. And we spoke about this before briefly. I don't remember the direction it went, but that was all about humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did that help, Sharon?
Yes, very
Okay.
much so. Because I, my heart, I was going to say my mind, but it's really my heart requires an understanding of whatever situation that I may be in. And if my heart can get an understanding of it, then I can go out and do something about it or with it intellectually, So for me, it has to come from the heart. When and this is what happens in dialogue, not only with each other but on the script page, and when it comes alive in the film or the TV program, that dialogue has to come from the heart. It has to come from that, and you can then people are moved by it. Then they want to tune in next week to that show because they felt something in their heart that said, "Oh, I know what that feels like to be, persecuted in that way." And I don't
Or
think that you can AI generate that. Heart first, then AI as a tool. That's what I have to say.
or celebrated in that way.
Or
Um,
yes, yes.
so let me ask two questions of all of us. How do we keep humanity in the heart, and how do we keep the heart in humanity?
Hmm.
Who would like to start with that one?
I believe that how we keep humanity in the heart is that we keep it in our heart first. So, to always remember that Eugene.
That's how you keep humanity in the heart with a cat. Perfect timing.
And all of us know, I don't care who you are, all of us really know if we pay it when something is not right. When if we check in, I mean, even as a child, even if we were taught, don't steal from your neighbor, and let's say that we steal a candy bar. I'll make it really simple. Let's say that we steal a candy bar, and we know that stealing is wrong, regardless of whether it's a candy bar or not. And so and we learned through life that when we did steal that candy bar, it became part of our unconsciousness. And then the next thing we know, we're stealing people's wives or people's, money or
Wow.
whatever it is. And it comes back to
That turned
repeat
quick.
it. Yeah. From a candy bar to a wife.
Let's keep it
But
simple.
that we know in our heart what's right and wrong. And now I talk so much, Eugene, I forgot the second part of the question.
How do we keep humanity in the heart? That's where you were going.
Yes. So how we keep humanity in the heart is to remember who we are.
Yeah.
We were created in this image and likeness of wholeness. And Spirit saw what it created and he said it was good, or it said that it was good. And when we are ever mindful of, I'm going to bring in, core values here. When we are ever mindful of our core values and how we treat our neighbor and what we do, and be mindful of the words that we speak because our words have power, that's how we keep humanity in our heart. And then we share that in the everyday. We share that when we go out into the world. And that's how we keep it in our heart, because it goes from one heart to the next heart to the yes, Melissa, to the yes of that
Yes.
other person's heart. So that's how.
So what if I and I hear you and I understand what you're saying, but what if I'm that person who hears this and wants to do that, but my heart's been hurt so much that I'm going to protect it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do I start that? I want to have my heart in humanity and I have to start with myself, but it's like, oh man, I don't know about me.
Well, one of the places to really start in it, it's a very practical way. If a person does not like the way that they are feeling, let's say that I'm going to bring up a relationship issue. So This person always wanted to have a relationship, but it never ever worked out. So they closed their heart down. Why? Because they said to themselves, men are just, or women are just dot, 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 whatever it is, and they closed their heart down. There comes a point in a person's life when that happens that their life is so not working that one day everything just falls apart. It just falls apart. And right there, that's where there is the opportunity to change. So I am saying, if you feel like your life is falling apart right now and that you don't have enough love, enough money, enough whatever in your life, that is the time that you get to turn it around. You get to turn it around and say, wait a minute. And you get to be still. And I know people, how do you be still? You could go out for a walk, change your environment, leave the situation, go out for a walk, take a ride to the ocean, whatever it is, and just be still and say, I don't like my life right now. And in your own words, just say, oh, I'm going to ask for guidance. Maybe I don't believe in God and that there's a power for good, but I do believe in this. I heard on the Academy of Self-Mastery that I could change my life if I just simply changed my mind. And when you change your mind, you say, how can I change my mind about this? And then there's going to be, when you ask it, then the direction is going to be given. It's going to be given. And you're going to say, oh my gosh, I can do this right now. I get to do this right now. It sounds like a simple, it sounds like a hard process, but if we pay attention to what Reverend Melissa says, we don't have to use that word hard, because the universe is going to say, oh yeah, this is going to be hard to learn this lesson. We're just going to say, oh yes, I'm willing to learn. I want to be relieved of this pain. I want to be relieved of this anxiety, and show me the way. Just show me the way. And next thing you know, you start feeling better. And then you start creating something different in your life. It goes back to the heart. You start feeling better, and then you get to change it. Why? By what you put your attention on.
I love that so much. And it made that question, Eugene, how do we keep humanity in the heart? Is that the question?
That's one of them. And how do we keep heart in humanity?
And how do we keep heart in humanity?
Mm-hmm.
The word that's been coming up for me these last couple of days has been the word communion.
Hmm.
And there's a communion between our heart and, let's say, the universe. There's a communion. There's a communion.
Mm-hmm.
And for some, when you're experiencing, let's just call it heartbreak, you feel disconnected from, let's say, the universal heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I could speak from experience of feeling like my life will never get any better. I am so heartbroken. And I remember asking for guidance, and I remember getting an answer to color, to do something that I enjoyed doing when I was a little girl. Because a lot of our heartbreak, or that feeling of heartbreak, can be an opportunity for us to commune with ourselves again. Commune with that part of ourselves that experience heartbreak. Because when we are adults, that's not usually our first time experiencing heartbreak.
True.
We usually have experienced heartbreak. We may not have had the language for it, but we usually have experienced heartbreak as children.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that disconnection can start to increase because we look at humanity, because usually that's the place that we experience the heartbreak. Call it humanity. Let's just call it that. And so we get to mm, parent ourselves, if you will. And that little one within us that first experienced that heartbreak, that actually is communing with our adult selves with that same feeling, because it's the feeling tone that is so familiar to us. Even if we don't recognize it intellectually, our body knows it, right? And since the mind body is in communion with each other, it's not disconnected, it's just one thing. We have the tool that we can use. And so what I say to people is, what did you love when you were a child?
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Just do that. So for me, it was coloring. For someone else, it might be riding my bike. For someone else, it might be playing Legos, playing jacks, whatever it is. There will be a memory that comes up that I love to do this, that feeling that I had, that I felt fully human, right? Fully who I am. Do that. Do that. Just follow the feeling. Get out of our heads, get out of trying to figure it out, all of those things that we usually go to. Do something that really resonates with you as your little one. That's what I would say to someone.
Powerful.
Thank you.
It's really good. I think too, that's fascinating is when we were saying that, Melissa reminded me, I only recently came upon a concept called gentle parenting. And I didn't know that when I was a parent. I wish I did. I know that I would have been a better mother, so to speak. I believe the children would have turned out differently. All of these things that our imagination can create for us. And we can add as adults. So what you were saying, Sharon, also if somebody's at an all-time low, you can gentle parent your thoughts. You can say, who said that? Who was so hurt right now that they can't move forward? Because you're not alone. You can, I understand you. I'm here with you. You can gentle parent your own thoughts, beginning with who said that, because our spirit, our angels, our loving, our kindness, our divinity, our wholeness would never in a million years say you're not lovable. Never in any way, shape, or form. So it's those old experiences, like what you were saying, Melissa, that heartbreak that happened when we weren't emotionally ready to be able to handle it, scarred us. And nobody sees those scars on the inside. Nobody. Correct. I have a scar and people go, ooh, what happened? But nobody ever says, you look scarred on the inside. What happened with that? No, we don't. Right. And so to keep humanity in the heart and the heart in humanity, I see it as currency, like money and flow. So I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. So that heartbroken person, like Sharon, you were talking about, change has to happen for things to change. And then the other side of it is, I was just at the EDC in Las Vegas, the Electronic Daisy Carnival, and the whole thing is about PLUR, P-L-U-R. So it's peace, love, unity, and respect. And throughout that entire 3-day event, 200,000 people a day were practicing PLUR. And the vibe was amazing. Everybody was helpful, friendly, loving, kind, supportive. Somebody dropped something out, picked up, here you go, oh, this is yours. Oh, I needed somebody to ride with on one of the carnival rides, and there was no single riders, and I didn't know until I got close and could read the sign. And the two gals behind me tapped my shoulder and go, we'll ride with you. It's just like that. So as a community, putting, heart in humanity and humanity into the heart, it's an ebb and flow. It's like if you hoard all your money, you don't have a lot of money. Because you're not doing anything with it. So it has no purpose. So giving and receiving, but starting with what about me would raise the vibration of humanity if I would act in these ways, if I would be this person, if I would choose to say these things.
Great question.
and then it comes back to you better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all comes down to having the willingness to do that, to be that, having the willingness to look at self. Okay, well, what about me? To have the willingness to look at self and say, I don't want to do this. I'm tired of this. And again, accepting for me, it was accepting where I was when I was going through all of that many years ago. And had to accept, okay, this is where I am. Don't like it, doesn't feel good, and I don't want to stay here. And it was that right there. I don't want to stay here. Didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I didn't want to stay where I was, right? But that began to open up things for me to do. I mean, things just began to show up. Going back to that sacred yes, going back to connecting with that yes. No, I don't want to live this way anymore. Yes, I want something better, and turn my direction into that yes. Yeah. So be willing. Be willing. That's what I would say, just to be willing to make that change. Even if life is fantastic, be willing to have more.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Why not? Why not? Any last words before we sign off on this first of our 4 of us together? Got to come up with a special name. But
that'll be on Elle, because she's the one that gets it. She looks to my when I see her, she's looking to the left. Yeah. And then it pours forth, and I'm like, wow, I'm embracing this right now. So, that's the word. Embrace it. Just embrace life. Embrace it.
Embrace it.
Yes, we have embrace it. We have willingness. I would say openness. And how about you, Melissa?
I would say embodiment. Let's embody art. Let's embody humanity. Let's embody the yes.
Yes. Yes. And with that, folks, we will say goodbye from the Academy of Self-Mastery with Eugene and Melissa and Elle and Charan. We are so grateful that you're here. Yeah. And peace and abundant blessings to everyone.
Yes, peace.